Hey, this is Brian Prince with Microsoft, and I'm here to continue the webcast series. I wanted to show you my portal. Again, I've logged in with that test account that I had that we created in the last video. I want to show you that I don't have any hosted services or storage accounts running. You can see all the zeros here. And we'll get around to doing that in this video, basically. What we're going to do is jump over to Visual Studio. I want to show you how to create and deploy an app easily. And we're not going to go into code and stuff like that. Just going to run through the publishing process in this video. In the next video, I will leave that up and running, and I'll show you how you can look at the billing portal and see what you're consuming inside Visual Studio. Inside Windows Azure. So if we go into a new project, and I'm just going to pick Cloud on the left over here, and you'll see that I have just one type of project that I can use. I've chosen C# as my language, and we're just going to do hello spending caps. And I'm just going to hit OK and create that project. What I'm going to do now is Visual Studio is going to show me this picker dialog, and I get to pick what roles I want in my solution. And roles you can think of as basically server templates. Each role will be deployed eventually to one or more instances of servers in Windows Azure. So I could put multiple websites in one role if I wanted to and do cool things like that. But we're just going to do very simple. We're just going to do an MVC3 web role. I'm going to give it a name, my website, like that. And I'm going to hit OK. And this is going to basically create the solution for me and everything. And I want to pick MVC3 wants me to pick a template. I'm going to use HTML5. I'm going to use Razor. It's an awesome new markup language. Internet application. And I'm ready to go. I'm not going to create testing. Shame on me. But we want to focus on the publishing aspects of things. So it's going to build my solution. It's going to have two projects in it. It's going to have the MVC3 web project in it, and it's going to have a Windows Azure project in it. And it's kind of setting things up for me. Here we go. So you can see on the top I have my website. That's the MVC3 project. And this is a pretty typical web project. There's nothing really unusual in here. We added a few references for you for Windows Azure SDK references, no big deal. And we added WebRole CS. And WebRole CS just includes, it gives you a place to put some code if you want to execute any code during the life cycle of a server. So when this WebRole instance starts up or shuts down and things like that, you can kind of handle events in there. Other than that, this is a plain old vanilla MVC app. Also, the default project, Hello Spending Caps, is my Cloud Azure project. And you can see that I have one role that maps to the website down there. And I have these configuration files. Service configuration, cloud, and local allow me to think of them as web configs, but for your whole application, not just for the website. And then the CSDEF. And the CSDEF defines the shape of the service. So actually, if I bring up my role this way, it's an easier way to look at them. So I'm going to say I want to run 4 small instances in the cloud. I'm not going to turn on diagnostics. We're going to run dangerous with that. We can put in settings like to storage and SQL Azure and so on. Manage endpoints, lots of other stuff we can do in here, but we're not going to mess with that. And then, we're all set. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a stupid parlor trick. I'm going to make this my default project. Set a startup project. And then hit F5, and you will see I'm going to run now this web project outside of Windows Azure. It's going to run just in my normal, you can see down here at the bottom, the normal development server. Let's bring this window in here. I haven't written any code. This is the normal out-of-the-box MVC3 template. And there you are. Welcome to ASP.NET MVC. Great. So that's working. So now let's make this back the startup project and hit F5 again. Then this time it's going to deploy to the local compute emulator. And this is basically we took the cloud, folded it up a million times, and put it on your desktop as part of the SDK. The first time you do this, it might take a couple seconds as the emulator gets started. But then it will launch a browser and have your app running in the emulator. Now the emulator is an emulator. It's not perfect, so there are some things that you can do locally that you can't do in the cloud. But every version, the emulator gets stronger and stronger, and it's a very good way, at least to run your compute locally. So again, we're running locally. So but in the emulator. So this blue flag is the emulator icon, and you can see in the pop-up compute emulator is started. And if we show the compute emulator UI, we will show you the instances that we have running locally. So here's my Hello Spending Apps Hello Spending Caps project, my website, and you can see the 4 instances that I asked for. And this is basically giving you a way to see kind of output, if you will, tracing output and so on. So we're going to close this down, close that down. Great. Our app is now perfect. We've tested it. We're ready to deploy. So we're going to go to our solution up here and choose Publish. Now I showed you the portal and it's empty. I haven't done anything in my portal yet to do any of this. This will involve calling management APIs and setting up management certificates and creating storage accounts and things like that. But instead of bouncing back and forth between the portal and copying and pasting things in the Studio, Studio now does it all for you. It's very, very slick. So we have to choose a subscription. We have to sign in first. And I'm going to sign into my subscription here. And what it's going to do once I sign in is download basically a file. And I have to store that somewhere. It's even going to give me directions on how to use it. I'm going to store that somewhere and then import it into Visual Studio. And this will tell Visual Studio everything it needs to know. So I'm going to do save as, and I'm just going to save it to my desktop, the temp folder that everyone uses. All right, so great. So we're done. We have that. We can go back to Visual Studio, and we need to import that file. So go back to our desktop, choose that file, and we have our subscription here. We're going to pick Next. And we don't have any hosted services. Hosted services is the container that runs our servers. It's kind of a billing and management container. So we're just going to try my free trial app and the location. So we're going to pick South Central US. You can choose which data center you want to use. We won't move your code around. If you tell us to put it in a specific center, it will stay there. Oh, you know what? I have to pick a good host name. So I apologize. This needs to be something that can be part of DNS, because this will be my free trial app.cloudapp.net. All right, great. So that is getting set up. So I have my hosted service, whether I want to deploy to production or staging, and I'm going to deploy to staging first. I'm going to choose to deploy our release configuration. If you remember in Visual Studio, we had both two configuration files, a cloud and a local, and we're going to use the release build and then the cloud configuration. We're going to enable remote desktop, and we have to have a password, so the username and password is not going to be, I'll have to pick a stronger password. All right. That's the username and password that will get replicated to each instance in my group for when I want to remote desktop in. So it's going to package that up, do the configuration. You have to encrypt the password, all of the stuff you used to have to do by hand. We're also going to enable web deploy. And the great thing about this is going to allow me to do future deployments super, super fast. It's giving me a warning here, and I don't know why. Yeah, we don't care about that. Okay. So our deployment label. Every time we do a deployment, we can give it a name that only we can see and use. And you can see here, it'll automatically use the name of my solution, Hello Spending Caps, and append the current date and time. That'll work for me. It'll also need a storage account. And you could create a new one here, but there's one already for me. The bits will get deployed to the storage account first, copied to the storage account first, and then deployed from there. So we want to do that. I'm not going to turn on IntelliTrace and profiling today. Our app seems to be performing perfectly, so we're not going to do any of that. So we're just going to hit next. We can save this to a profile if we want, but I'm okay. You have enabled. This will do. With web deploy, we're limited to one. So you know what? You're right. So web deploy is great for quick development, but I actually want to deploy to 4 servers. So I'm going to turn off web deploy for now. And you can see how it's going to catch bugs like that before I go through the whole deployment dance and find out 20 minutes from now that I've done something wrong. Visual Studio helps me catch those problems before I start that. Now, if you are just doing a development deployment, I would use web deploy. You'll get much more rapid turnaround on pushing out new versions. You can see here it's doing the deploying, and this will take some time. So we're going to pause right now, and we'll come back once it's deployed. and you can see everything running. Okay, unpause. So it's been a few minutes. I've jumped over to the portal. It's basically starting up all the hosts. We have 4 here. You can see some of them are almost online, so it'll just be another couple minutes. This is because we're booting up the servers, deploying images, setting up the virtual LAN that your servers sit on, configuring load balancers and firewalls and DNS and lots of crazy stuff like that. You would not believe how many unicorns are involved in this process. So I'm going to go pause again. We'll wait till it's completely done and show you the code running. Okay, and we're back. So you can see that our spending caps application has been deployed, and the service account, the hosted service account is here. Hello, spending caps. Remember, it was going to append the date and time for me in the deployment label, so that's there. The name of the role, my website, and then the 4 instances that I asked for, and you can see that they're all healthy and ready. Now, if I choose this deployment and I go over to my properties, you'll see that I have a DNS name that is a little unusual. That's actually a deployment ID. Every time I deploy to the staging environment, and staging is meant for when you're going to deploy, eventually promote code to production. So it's a place to kind of stage your code and get everything ready and do your final testing and then flip it. So we're going to click on that link. Feel free to click on it later, but it probably won't be live by the time you see this. But there we go. So our app is running in the cloud. Now let's say we're done, we're happy, everything is working great. I want to promote this to production. Well, this is where I can do several options. I could do an upgrade. Actually, I could do an upgrade on the staging environment if I needed to push a patch. I could just redeploy to production since I don't have anything in production today. Or since I have something in staging, I can swap it into production just by having basically the load balancers point to new IP addresses. And that's what I'm going to do here. And VIP stands for virtual IP address. So I'm just going to click VIP swap, and it says, hey, are you really want to do this? Yes, I would really like to do this. And it will take a brief second to do it. It'll look like it takes longer in the portal because the portal runs on a 30-second polling cycle. But you can see it's already flipped over. It says over here, production. So we're in production. We'll have a different domain name now, myfreetrialapp.cloudapp.net. So when I click on that, it'll come right up. It will come right up. So nothing has happened to the servers. The servers are left as they are. These are the same exact servers that were running the code in staging. All we did was tell the load balancers that when anyone asked for myfreetrialapp.cloudapp.net to point to what used to be the staging servers instead of to what used to be the production servers. So we're all set. So in the next video, I'm going to leave this up and running, and I'll probably upload some data to fill up some storage, and I'll show you how you can look at your bill and see what you're accumulating for costs and so on. Well, thanks for watching. Again, this is Brian Prince, Principal Cloud Evangelist with Microsoft. Feel free to contact me through my blog or Twitter or even email. I'm always happy to help out where I can. Now, I have some links for you. The first is so you can go download the SDK. Very easy to do. And we have SDKs for pretty much every platform out there. So aka.ms/AzureVP. And even when you do that, you need an account, and you can get a free trial account, 90 days, no charge, no cost to you. Go to aka.ms/AzureTrialVP. I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.